The life cycle of a property portfolio. So again, this is something you need to think of, but probably won't be thinking of as you're young and starting out and dying to get more properties into your portfolio. So most portfolio building starts when someone is young, energetic, and happy to work on it. But as people get older, which we all do unfortunately, they tend to wind down. So I would look at having a portfolio that you can sell as a company. And to even elaborate on this more, what I would do is I'd look to have several smaller portfolios. So you might group them by gold mine area. You might have to group them by who lends you the money because they'll want to charge over the assets in that company. But whatever way you group them, rather than having nine properties in a company and having to pluck them out. Yeah, of course you can take one out and you can sell it. And you pay, the relevant taxes and the purchaser pays stamp duty and you pay an estate agent. Would it not be handy to have three companies with three properties each and to be able to advertise? I think we will see the day quite soon that people buy property companies already set up, so everything in place for them. So instead of learning all of the stuff you've just been learning, they'll buy a ready-made company with a rule book and a standard operating procedures manual, etc. And they'll come in and buy these, probably not at full market value, but you'll sell three properties all in the one go and you won't have to pay an agent, so you'll be happy to do so. They'll already have an accountant, they'll already have a solicitor. So they'll be sold as going concerns. So bear in mind when adding to your portfolio, you probably need to keep the equity together, but don't leave something unleveraged. I know I've said this before, but this is how people lose their assets that they have already paid for. You just never know. Nobody, I would have been expecting a recession now. We're in May to 2020. In fact, we were expecting it 2 years ago, but nobody could have foreseen a pandemic. Well, apparently the people on Netflix could now, as I say that, because for anyone who's seen Contagion, it's this exact thing. But the regular person in the street did not foresee a pandemic. So you just never know what will happen. The recession in 2008 was probably more obvious that the bubble had to burst because prices were gone absolutely crazy. But what's happening now is a complete unknown and could take a long time medically to sort out. A lot of people are losing their jobs. Back then, it was mostly property related jobs that went. Now, a lot of people are losing their jobs that aren't property related at all. What are the type of the one other thing which you could do is if I had something which I had no debt on and I suddenly found myself, even now, I would do this, is we're in the middle of a pandemic and there's every chance that some of your other mortgages will come under pressure. You can actually put a charge on something. So a first charge doesn't have to be by a bank. It could be by a friend of yours. Now you'd have to prove that you owed the friend money or something like that in order to put a charge on something, but that's not impossible. Remember that assets that are paid for are wide open if you ever run into difficulties. Um, a deed of trust is another way to hold stuff or move stuff out of your name but still control it. I know if you change something to somebody else's name, you will have to stamp it again and there'll be a legal cost to transfer it. It's a lot better than losing it altogether. People who have families tend to start doing transfers out to their kids at a certain age because apart from this aspect, it lets the kids get equity and get started up with the portfolio, and it also allows parents, I suppose, to know that they're set up before they get much older themselves. But also in Ireland at the moment, the less assets you have, if you come to a time where you need nursing home care, you're going to have a lot less to pay if you don't have a load of assets in your own name. Now that thing does look back a while, so you need to be doing this reasonably early. I actually think everybody should be doing a complete, sorting out all their estate while they're still alive. Because that's the only way they really know that what they want to happen will happen. Now, obviously, and I know I'm digressing a bit here, this is about estates, but obviously people end up and they're afraid to maybe sign over their own house because um they don't want to end up in a situation. What if their son or daughter died and they were left with their son in law or daughter in law who could actually sell the house? So they just need to think of it a little bit more carefully than that. Maybe add the person to the title as opposed to handing it over to them completely. But a solicitor would be able to remedy all of that for you and plan it out properly. So your life cycle in your property business is going to be like the whole rest of your life cycle. When you start out and you're young, it's going to be riskier, and you start to try and wind down the debt as you get older. So you might run two portfolios beside each other and sell one which will pay off all the debts in the other as you get older. So that life cycle, as I say, is going to be similar to your own life cycle. As you get older, you won't want everything bigger, bolder, and better and more hassle. You'll want a quiet life. And I know everybody thinks they're different, and yet everyone I meet who is now into their 70s, whether they had a really huge busy business, and I know a couple of guys in their 70s but still with a big busy business, um, they just like a little bit less hassle. Most of them, the reason they're still going is because they want to, the things they want to do before the kids are fit to take over. So the quicker, if you have a business, property business or otherwise, you hope to pass on to your kids, quicker those kids get training, but also the quicker you find out whether they're really interested or not. Just because you love something doesn't mean they'll love it. Um, so that's something you need to figure out quite early. There's no substitute. Yeah, I know people, it's great to go off to college and learn different things. There's no substitute on working in a business initially to learn how it goes. So that's the life cycle of your property portfolio.